for the glory of old state, for her founder strong and great, for the future that we wait. Raise the song, raise the song.
Where else would you rather be? I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association. Welcome to the Penn State Alumni Association's People of Penn State podcast. Each week on the podcast, you can expect to hear the voices of Penn Staters talking about what they're passionate about, and you can expect to feel the pride and the power of the Penn State Network. You can find the People of Penn State podcast on People of Penn State podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Subscribe and give us a rating. Ratings and reviews help others find these great stories. And we have another great story to pass along to you today. We are going to be talking about the Hope Gala, a THON event that happens in New York City every year. And today I am joined by Sara Leary Swanson and Emma Gaubaite. Let me tell you a little bit about each of them. Sara is a user experience and design lead at JP Morgan. Her leadership style centers around mentoring and advancing women in fintech industry, as well as inclusivity and accessibility of technology. Sara has served as the co-executive director of the Hope Gala since 2017, raising funds and awareness in the fight against childhood cancer. She co-leads a team of 18 directors, 15 advisory board members, and a year-long fundraising effort, which culminates in the annual Black Tie Gala in New York City. She has been a director for this organization and in other roles since 2014, and Sara's a 2014 graduate with a BA in Integrative Arts and a BA in Communications right here from Penn State. We are also joined by Emma Gaubaite. She is the vice president at Capital Group Private Client Services. She works closely with clients providing wealth management services and valuable solutions to high net worth families and institutions. Prior to joining Capital, Emma worked at Family Management and Fiduciary Trust Company International with a focus on alternative investment research and relationship management. And she is a 2010 graduate of Penn State with a BS in economics. Sara and Emma, welcome to the People of Penn State podcast.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited about the conversation. Let's go ahead and get started. And let's start right at the very beginning with your origin stories. How did you become Penn State Nittany Lions? Emma?
Sure. So I wish I could say Penn State was where I always wanted to go, but I actually applied to a ton of schools, not really knowing where I wanted to be. The one thing I did know is I wanted to be just far enough from New York City, but close enough to come home. So when I went to visit with my parents, I still remember that visit to this day. I fell in love not only with the school and wanted an environment that was, decently larger than where I was coming from, but the town and Happy Valley still had such a small town feel. And I really, really love that.
That's awesome. Sara, how about for you?
Sure. Actually, my sister's best friend is a Penn Stater. And I remember her coming home from her freshman year, and she was going on and on about this amazing place and the football games and THON. And I had to go, and I had to go see it. And she really sold me on the school. I applied, got in, and put my deposit down all before even visiting campus. So I really went on trusting my friend, but it was the best decision ever.
That's amazing. So you both chose to come to Penn State. You get here. What were you involved in while you were students? Sara?
Sure. I was on the Lioness dance team for all 4 years. That's what my uniform is behind me. Still display that proudly. So that afforded me a lot of opportunities. I got to perform at football games, basketball games, volleyball, even wrestling, and community events like THON. So the Lioness dance team had a THON child, the Ashley Fazekas family. At the time, they now have 2. And that kind of opened the door for me to also get involved with THON and learn about what a great organization that was. So I was also involved with THON just in the Lionette involvement, but then also as a committee member and then a PR director for my junior and senior year.
Emma, from a student involvement perspective, what were you involved in outside of the classroom?
Sure. So I'm sure it's probably no surprise to anyone. I was actually very heavily involved with THON all 4 years. I was recommended to apply by a friend who was a senior when I was a freshman, and I was actually a moraler for dancers all 4 years there.
That's exciting. That's also a little bit of evidence of the evolution that THON has gone through. Moraler is now, I believe, dancer relations, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
It's hard to let go of those old titles, though, isn't it?
They just stick to you.
Absolutely. This is the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined by the co-executive directors of the Hope Gala, Emma Gaubaite and Sara Swanson. For people who might not be familiar with the Hope Gala, can you give us an overview of what the organization is all about?
Sara, you want to take this one?
Sure. So the organization started in 2008, actually in partnership with the New York City Penn State Alumni Association chapter and a little bit from the Northern New Jersey chapter. And it really just grew from folks that were involved in the Alumni Association but wanted to continue to give back to the THON community. THON took up such a large portion of our experience at school and so much of our hearts. And so the alumni, after they moved to the New York City area, were kind of like, how do we continue to give back, even though we're no longer right in the heart of Happy Valley anymore? So it started out as just kind of a committee or a subcommittee of the Alumni Association in the New York City area. And then a few years later, I would say maybe 5 or 7 years later, we transitioned to our own 501c3, still very much in partnership with our New York City and surrounding chapters. But we now operate as our own organization. And really the goal is for us to continue to raise funds and awareness in the fight against childhood cancer. We still donate to THON and ultimately to Four Diamonds, but it just gives us the opportunity as alumni in this area to still connect back to a cause that meant so much to us. So we're a year-round fundraising effort that culminates in this black tie gala in New York City every March. The last few years have looked a little different, of course, as we've adapted to pandemic world, but we're hopeful that this year we will be able to have an in-person event along with a virtual component as well.
So with the start in 2008, that means you all were both still in school when Hope Gala started. So Emma, how did you get involved with the gala?
Sure. So I got involved in 2014. Took a couple of years to kind of really get solidified in my career here, and then eventually find that time to really want to give back still. Originally as a volunteer, I had a couple of friends that had been involved with the Hope Gala for a year or two before me. And after volunteering and attending some of the events, they did game watch parties, so you can come with your friends and watch football games together. The final 4 hours of THON, we all viewed together. It was such a nice community that I wanted to be even more involved. So once a year, we do open applications for directors, and you can apply for various open positions. So I applied to be the sponsorship liaison and haven't turned around since.
And how about for you, Sara? How did you first get involved with the gala?
Sure. Funnily enough, that same friend that told me I had to go to Penn State told me that I had to go and get involved with the Hope Gala. She was involved. She's very much a role model to me, as you can see that I followed in her footsteps. But like Emma, I took a year to just kind of get acclimated to working and being a pseudo adult. And then I kind of realized like something was missing. And, you know, when you're at Penn State and you are involved in THON or other organizations on campus, like that notion to continue to give back is just so instilled in you. And it just really feels like a piece of you is missing when you kind of transition to an alumni. And so I was seeking out how can I fill that void. And Joanne introduced me to the Hope Gala, and like Emma, I haven't looked back since.
So I'm sure that there are other people listening to this podcast today that are thinking, I live in New York City and I was involved with THON, or I'm kind of excited about the mission of the Hope Gala and the mission of Four Diamonds. What's the best way to get involved with Hope Gala?
Sure. So we always suggest attending. We will have our in-person event March 26th of 2022. So tickets have actually gone on sale. So we urge you to come join us, check us out. But otherwise, if you want to get involved as a volunteer, I would say sending us an email at contact@nychopegala.com. Let us know who you are, what you're interested in, and we'll kind of guide you in the right direction. You'll hear from Sara and I, and we'd love to get to know everyone that wants to get involved. We can certainly find a home for them.
So, Sara, earlier you mentioned that the Hope Gala, it sounds like an event, right? It sounds like a single kind of one-time activity. But really, the Hope Gala is an umbrella for a year's worth of fundraising activities. Can you talk a little bit about what the year for the organization looks like?
Sure. So we also have, in addition to our Black Tie Gala each year, we have several events throughout the year that are a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, and some more opportunities to get some of our younger alumni connected with the organization and the mission. So as Emma mentioned earlier, we do a lot of game watch parties. We've even done like a boat cruise around Manhattan. We'll do trivia. The past 2 years, we've done a virtual ribbon run, which was a virtual 5K that's been really successful. So just kind of different ways to keep people engaged and involved throughout the year, and also reach people at various price points. We love to get younger alumni connected early so that as they grow up and become more established in their careers, then they can join us at the gala when they're ready. This year, we're also partnering with Happy Valley Cruise. We are going to be their sole beneficiary, so all proceeds from that event will get donated through us and ultimately to Four Diamonds in the fight against childhood cancer. So that's kind of an exciting new addition to this year. That happens in June this year.
Now, I know you mentioned the impact that the pandemic and COVID-19 has had on the Hope Gala, but in a lot of ways, it seems like that has helped you all even grow the reach of the effort that you all are involved in. I know that there's a lot of virtual events, that events aren't just now focused on New York City. Can you talk a little bit about how the organization actually experienced some growth through the pandemic?
Sure. So I think in 2020, we were forced to cancel our Hope Gala a couple of days right before it was supposed to kick off. And it really forced us to kind of take a pause, sit and think about how we can build our brand during this tough year. And Sara and I took that as a challenge to really make us more accessible outside of the New York City community. So that meant, using Zooms and forums like this to get people together for a workout class that raised funds, or, get people together making cards and doing a toy drive for Four Diamonds and the hospital. But at the same time, we also wanted to make sure that people could enjoy that actual event in March, no matter where they were. So we adapted a virtual platform where people could buy tickets, as Sara mentioned before, at a way lower price point and still get that experience to understand why we do what we do, hear the speakers, and just really connect all around. And, this year that's meant that we've had directors apply, not just from New York and the tri-state area, but from all around the country.
That's amazing. What an amazing story of how you and your organization really used the pandemic, right, for all the bad that came with the pandemic, right? You were able to find opportunity and make the best of it to now be more inclusive of more Penn Staters. Sure. I know what the numbers look like year over year, and the amount that you all raise is ridiculous. It's off the charts. It's almost incomprehensible that it's a volunteer effort to go ahead and achieve the numbers that you're achieving. But can you talk a little bit about how much you raise annually and what the organization has been able to do since 2008?
Sure. So we've actually started off, that first year raising just $10,000. And, now our event raises over, $200,000 for a black tie event every year. And it's a huge accomplishment that we accredit to a lot of the people that came before us in this position and the hard work they've put in. We've been able to grow due to supporters. We have an amazing advisory board of local professionals, real experts in their fields that advise us, and a team of directors and volunteers that stand by us and really make it possible. It is a lot of work. We are 100% volunteer, which means we do have those typical 9-to-5 jobs as well, and really do this because this is what we love. But, since 2018, we've raised over $1.5 million that we've directly donated to THON and Four Diamonds. And we're really keeping those fingers crossed. We're going to hit over that $2 million threshold this year.
That's amazing. Sara, when you think about your involvement with the Hope Gala, what's your favorite part about the organization?
That's a tough one. There's a lot of really great things. One of them is this lady right here with me, Emma. As we told you by our graduation years, we're 4 years apart. So we really wouldn't have crossed paths in school. And yes, we live in the same area, but there's a million people everywhere. So getting to cross paths with Emma, and of course we're working together. We have a working relationship through the gala, but she's really become one of my very best friends. So on top of course, the amazing ability to continue to give back, I've made some really great friends, and just like another circle of Penn Staters, all, you break down those barriers. It's like when you're meeting new people, you're Penn Staters off the bat, so you're going to get along. And then you're also passionate about THON. So it's just like another level to connect on. So I'm really grateful for Emma's friendship.
Emma, how about you in terms of what you get most out of being involved with the Hope Gala? What's your favorite part?
How do I follow that up? Obviously, yes, as Sara alluded, the group of people that have come together are absolutely fantastic. But I think another thing is it's made me realize that there's no small act that doesn't go unnoticed, that you can help someone and change someone's life. People go through various hardships in their own lives. For the people we encounter, it's a terrible disease. But, just sometimes offering a kind word or a quick email can change someone's entire day around. And I really try to kind of live that on a day-to-day basis, not even just through the Hope Gala, but everywhere.
Excellent. If people are looking for more information about the Hope Gala and how they can get involved or how they can donate to the cause, where can people get connected with you all?
Sure. You can visit our website, which is www.nychopegala.com, or you can visit us on social, and our handle is NYC Hope Gala across all of the standard social platforms.
You touched on something in both of your answers that really, it's actually my favorite part of my job. And it's watching Penn Staters relationships grow in ways that they don't expect after leaving Penn State, right? So you both graduate when you graduated, and you probably had a group of friends that you thought, all right, well, these are going to be my college friends now from here forward. And then people go off and they lose touch with some of those folks, but they get involved with the chapter or get involved with Hope Gala, and more people come into their Penn State friend group. And I use the example, maybe they buy season football tickets, and the people they tailgate next to and the people they sit next to in the stadium become part of their Penn State family. And what happens is that it's not just the folks that you graduated with, right? But it's different generations of Penn Staters that you're now connected to in a strong way. And it's really around that shared experience and that shared kind of commonality of having gone to Penn State. And I just love seeing that kind of surprise alumni that they have, friends from Penn State that graduated, from the 80s, and they're friends with them because they're on the chapter board together or because they park next to each other in the parking lot. So I think that's one of the things that I enjoy most about my work here at the Penn State Alumni Association. This is the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined by the co-executive directors of the Hope Gala, Sara Leary Swanson and Emma Gaubaite. Well, we want to get to know you two just a little bit better, right? So we have a lightning round that we have here at the end of our podcast. We'll go back and forth here, but if you could think back, first question is your favorite THON moment. Emma, let's start with you.
Sure. Probably the last 4 hours my senior year. So 2009. Wow. Time flies. I had a couple of friends dancing, and I was actually able to be on the floor for the final 4 hours. It was such a moving experience, and I still will forever carry that with me.
I described the final 4 hours as the craziest roller coaster that you will ever ride in terms of the emotions that you feel, right? There's certainly the video of the survivors and the video of the children that we've lost over the years. And then Go-Go Gadget comes out and just blows the roof off the Bryce Jordan Center. And it's like no rock concert you've ever been to, right? So it's definitely a roller coaster of emotions, right? A
lot of highs and some lows for sure. And especially after, watching people do it for an entire, weekend when you've just reached that point. It's amazing. There's no other place in the world. I always made my friends and family come visit that weekend just so that's the only way they really understood why I was so involved and so passionate and still continue to be today.
Absolutely. Sara, how about you? What's your THON moment?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think if I have to pick, speaking of Final Four and Go-Go Gadget, I think it was my senior year. I was one of the photography captains, so it meant that I kind of got to be on the floor, whenever I wanted and kind of sneak around and see all the really special, intimate moments. But there was a moment where my organization's THON child got to go on stage and dance kind of like in the front while Go-Go Gadget was playing, and she was just having the absolute time of her life, and we were up there with her. And I just have such vivid memories of like seeing how happy she was, being around some of my closest friends, and then also seeing the rest of the floor just going nuts for Go-Go Gadget. It's one of my favorites.
Excellent. Emma, your favorite class at Penn State?
I thought long and hard about this one, and I took a lot of fantastic economics classes, obviously, because I did major in that. But I think one of the most memorable one was a summer course I took. It was called Philosophy of Love and Sex. And I mean, philosophy has its perks anyway, but we had such a fantastic class that actually really enjoyed spending time with each other. And the prompts were so interesting that we not only met up in class, but we would also meet up on the weekends occasionally. And that just brings back such great memories of like getting to know people and the flexibility that Penn State affords of having various people that you wouldn't necessarily maybe be friends with, but you're in a class together, you have a similar passion, and you come together and get to know each other.
Sara, how about for you?
Let's see. I also had to think long and hard about this one. I forgot what classes I took apparently. But I think one of my favorites was my photo studio, and that might have been because it was always dark in the room. So people were taking some naps. But my photo studio was really cool. And I took a yoga class my senior year, which was nice. Got to take a little break, but still get credit for it.
That's fantastic. All right. If you can have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why? And since you live in the food capital of the world, you're going to have to tell me where it is in New York that you're having this dinner. Sara, let's stick with you first.
Sure. I also had to think hard about this one, and I think my choice would be Christopher Millard. His story was that little story that little boy wrote in his class was so impactful. Clearly, it brought us to where we are today with THON raising all the incredible funds it does for Four Diamonds. And I just love his imagination, his ability to take a really trying time in his life and use like really advanced metaphors for such a young child to try and get through that troubling time. And so I'd love to get to meet him. I wish he could see all that he's inspired all these years later. Where we would eat, since he is younger, I would say we're going to get pizza and we're going to go to Emmy Squared, which is one of my favorite pizza places near the city.
Excellent. How about you, Emma?
Well, first of all, Sarah, I love that you said that pizza, the only reason you're going to get pizza is because you're having dinner with the child. I know your real love. So I'm down between two, and I'll mention them both briefly. It would either have to be Betty White, because I would just love to have a drink with her at the first. She passed away. She seems like such a kick-ass woman who accomplished so much and was such a renegade. And sticking with the renegade theme, Anthony Bourdain, his ability to tell stories and connect people and travel and to places that some people would have never seen or never experienced, I think touched more people and changed the world in more ways than he thought he ever did. And I would love to just sit down and pick his brain and talk to him and learn to tell stories the way he did.
I love both of those answers. Betty White at the first would be an unbelievable night in State College. I can tell you that.
We'd have so much fun.
For sure. Your most unusual "we are" moment. This is like, where did you run into a Penn Stater or hear "we are" or yell "we are" to someone that you were either caught off guard or you caught them off guard by the Penn State connection? Sarah?
Sure. This one actually happened to me this year. This September, my husband and I were on a trip in Mexico, and we went on an excursion, zip lining. And to simplify it, there was like several pillars that we would have to go up a ton of stairs. And I remember getting to the top of one of them. I felt like I was going to pass out. Too many stairs after working from home for so many months. And there was like 4 people with us. And out of nowhere, another person pops up the stairs and has a Penn State shirt on. I also have a Penn State shirt on. And he just says, like, he looks at me kind of a little sideways and then says, "We are." And I just couldn't believe it. Of all the places, the small group of people, and of course, our Penn State group finds each other.
That's amazing. Ziplining in Mexico. How about for you, Emma?
Similarly, it was outside of the country. I'm actually originally from Lithuania, a small Eastern European country. But I was home visiting with my fiance, and we were traveling around. And typically, you don't see too many Penn Staters there, but that's just because there's not a lot of us in the world. And this kid was walking around. He must have been a recent, 8th grade graduate entering high school with his sibling. And I got so excited. I just started yelling, "We are," and must have caught them so off guard because the only person that responded was the mom.
That's amazing. How about your favorite Penn State sports, Emma?
Definitely football. I will admit, the high school I went to here in New York, because it's the city and there's just not much room, we didn't have a football program. So I wasn't so invested when I came into Penn State, but who can ever leave Penn State without a love for football? The tailgating, the friends, the hanging out, just the environment in the actual game, a whiteout. I still go back, or at least try to go back as much as possible to a game a year. And that love, I don't see that going anywhere. Now my dog has a Penn State football jersey, so it's here to stay.
That's amazing. How about you, Sarah?
I think I'm going to have to be a little bit biased and say that I'm going to choose the Penn State Lionettes dance team as my favorite sport.
There you go. There you go. That is fine. They don't get as much love as they deserve. And so cheer and dance You're the first one on the People of Penn State podcast to pick cheer and dance as your favorite school.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Emma, what is your favorite flavor of creamy ice cream?
I love coffee. I'm actually drinking coffee now, and it's the afternoon. So definitely the coffee flavor.
And how about you, Sarah?
Mine is peanut butter swirl. That is the only one I will get. I never deviate.
Excellent. Well, look, our alma mater charges all of us as Penn Staters that may our lives swell thy fame. And the work that you're doing in New York City to help Four Diamonds and to try to eradicate childhood cancer is doing just that. Thank you all for what you continue to do for your alma mater. And thanks for allowing us to pass your story on to the People of Penn State podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we want to thank all of you for tuning in. If you like this episode, I hope that you'll subscribe to the People of Penn State podcast in your favorite podcast app of choice. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a rating and drop us a review. Help us spread the word. Share the podcast with your friends and with fellow Penn Staters via social media channels, and tag the Penn State Alumni Association with @PennStateAlums on Instagram or on Twitter. If you're not a member of the Penn State Alumni Association, what are you waiting for? Go to our website and visit us at alumni.psu.edu, and you too can become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Thank you for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are.
Of ours bring shame to our heart that loves thy name. May our lives but swell thy fame, dear old state, dear